I love it when a game tells a good story that is compelling, but also stays subjective and vague enough that allows the players to take their own conclusions and make up their own story as they go. That's exactly the case with Little Nightmares, and with me today to discuss some of our theories is Rurikan. How are you doing, my man?
I'm doing great, dude. So, Little Nightmares, huh? Really interesting, I would almost say plot, but it's not quite a plot. It's more like an evolution, in a way. That's kind of the way that I looked at it as I played through the game.
Exactly, me too. So I thought we would take things chapter by chapter and explain how we built our theories as the game progressed. So obviously there's a big spoiler warning right at the beginning of this video, because we're going to talk about specifics of the story, and while it may be subjective, it's gonna detract from your gameplay experience if you're planning on playing this game. So go play it. It takes about 2 hours. Come back to this video later after you're done. Alright, first chapter. Get into a pretty dark space and start crawling around and finding all kinds of the weird stuff. Where was your mind at during the first chapter?
In the first chapter, I was like, this is a child that was kind of placed here. I don't know why, but I was thinking maybe she was placed here by some really evil parents or something who didn't like her, and they were just like, we're gonna put her in here in this place. That was all I was thinking about. I was just thinking, who would put a child in here?
We were in a pretty similar mind space where I didn't think she was left there by evil parents. I just thought that was an orphanage. So maybe she was left there by evil parents. There's a room in particular where there's a lot of children asleep, and there's the long arms dude that comes into the room and checks that everyone is asleep and just moves on, and you're hiding under a bed. That's when I really started forming my orphanage theory. Like, this is a big orphanage and this kid doesn't like being here. Because I knew that this game was interpreting the nightmares of a little child. So my mind was constantly trying to figure out what was happening in reality for her to have these types of nightmares.
So you were thinking that basically this was all a dream, kind of?
Yes. But the more interesting bit is everything in this dream, in this nightmare, this has a parallel to reality. This is based on something real. And that's how my theory started.
Oh my god, that's some really deep stuff. I was just like, I don't know, there's kids in here. Maybe there's more evil parents that are putting kids in this dungeon-looking thing that happens to, like, sway. Maybe it's a ship. Like, again, I just kept going back. This thing keeps swaying.
Interesting. We have a lot of themes in common, but the whole setting is set in very different places for both of our theories.
Yeah.
So in the second chapter, you start encountering the dude with the long arms a lot more.
The long arms of the law.
So that's what you called him.
Yeah, the long arms of the law.
I just thought this guy was a janitor, a warden, or, you know, a janitor in real life, a warden because she sees this orphanage as a prison. So he's the one that's catching her and putting her in her place, which sometimes it's a cage for her. That's how she sees this place.
This guy to me was just like, almost like a guard of whatever that place happened to be. He just kind of like handled the children. He's just like making sure they all stay in line. They don't leave their cages, and, you know, he's really upset whenever he catches you running away and stuff. So to me, he was just like a guard, basically. Like, you're in this prison looking thing, and this guy is one of the guards that's there making sure that you can't leave. And again, I was looking at it like a very real thing. It's just like, this dude is there to keep you from leaving.
Right. Any reason why he's blind? Did you come up with any conclusion for that? Because I have a bunch, but none of them are too solid.
No, I don't have a particular conclusion as to why he's blind. It actually made me think, why would you hire a guard who is also blind? Like, maybe his other senses would be better, but not even his other senses are that great, because sometimes you're able to sneak past him, you're able to basically get away with a lot of stuff that you would do, and he wouldn't be able to figure out where you were or anything. And he's also easily distracted, so I don't know. But I just felt dude was bad at his job.
But he had extremely good hearing. So that's my main theory for this, or the most solid one, is that, you know, when a kid gets out of bed and he tries to sneak around the house, but this guy was always on top of it because he's got a really good hearing sense. And so this was the warden that she feared whenever she was not doing what she was supposed to do.
So if this is like your orphanage
Yeah.
theory, right? Like, and this is a nightmare for her. I think that pretty much would explain the reason why he has such long arms. It's because she feels like she can never get away from him.
Yes.
And a lot of times he will actually catch you in situations where he thought, you can't reach me here. And he'll be like, yoink. And you're like, whoa, what the hell, dude?
Yeah.
Like when he stretches that long arm, it's just like he's always going to get you.
By the way, the way you defeat this boss, accidental or intentional? Because you cut off his arms.
I mean, to me, it was pretty much intentional. I was just like, I want to break that cage. I want his arms to come off. Like, that's it. And I was really happy when I did it too.
When I did it, it was kind of a shock. Because I just thought she was trying to get away. And the cage was getting in the way. Like, the cage was the danger. Because he might catch her. Even as long as the cage is there, she might get caught. It's not only the janitor or the warden that doesn't like this kid. The cooks also don't like her. So, which leads me to believe that all the adults in this institution, be it, I don't know, a prison or an orphanage or whatever you thought it was, they are all shitty adults who hate children. And maybe the kitchen is the right time to bring up the subject of hunger, because that comes up every once in a while in this game. The kid gets really hungry. I've never seen someone so painfully hungry as this kid.
I mean, she doesn't get hungry often, but when she's hungry, she's like, oh my God, I'm gonna die.
Right. She goes from being, a little bit hungry to extremely starvation in 2 seconds.
Yeah.
And it's disturbing. But there's all this food laying around. So I just started thinking, this isn't just an orphanage with strict rules. They straight up neglect the kids by not feeding them properly. That's
Exactly, 'cause
the
there's
nightmare she's
tons of
having.
food.
Yeah, she's having this nightmare because she's not properly fed in real life.
That's an interesting theory. And I think it's important to mention that there's like this evolution. So in the first chapter, she ate a piece of bread or whatever that someone else gave her. In the second chapter, she eats a piece of raw meat
Right.
that was probably rotten or something because rats were eating it. And now on this, it's actually interesting because when I got to the start of the kitchen area, you get in there and you see like a bunch of carrots and stuff, and I'm like, eat now. Look, there's carrots here. There's good food. Eat. And there's nothing you can do to get her to eat.
Right.
Which is weird. And then you're also going to be interacting with sausages and all kinds of other things as you progress through the kitchen area, and you never see her eat anything.
Right. And I guess that kind of makes sense in a nightmare because dreams are weird. And hey, maybe this cat, I wasn't hungry then, so I don't need to eat that. But all of a sudden, eating is all I can think about, so I need to eat the next thing that I can, pretty much.
Yeah.
And on the kitchen, she eats a live mouse. So she's really starving.
Here is where I started thinking that she was getting dark. And this kind of, like my first theory is that of an evolution, is how the character evolves from the start of the game to the end of the game. And she is just basically a completely different character at the end of the game.
Yeah.
That's like my personal theory.
Chapter 4, the guest area. This is where my theory completely fell apart. Because orphanages, they might have some parents visiting here and there, trying to adopt a child. They don't have a guest area. So what was this? Like, there's a bunch of people eating, getting service for food, and they're trying to eat the child as well.
Yeah, at this point I was almost thinking, so maybe it's not just parents who bring this kid here so that she can stay there. It's more like these parents are bringing these kids here so that they can then be transformed into food and then consumed. And I was like, this is way too weird.
Whoa.
Like, you can't just bring children and then transform them into food.
And there are some pretty big pieces of meat that don't necessarily fit with a children's size.
Yeah, exactly. Unless it's a really fat kid, but
Yeah.
I highly doubt that would be the case.
So my theory evolved here to this is some kind of place where adults can come to eat and perhaps even be entertained, but it also has children. And maybe I'm getting a little ahead of myself, but Chapter 5 heavily features a character that I interpreted as a geisha.
I interpreted her as the host, basically, of whatever that thing was.
Right, me too. Like, she's the master of this place, but the master of this place is a geisha. So I just started going into child prostitution. Like, this is a
Oh my
place
God.
where parents leave their kids here. It's like an orphanage, but then they sell the kids to all these nasty adults that come into this sort of forbidden place. And that's why it's a boat, because it needs to stay on the move. No way this thing is legal. And to your theory of this character transforming and getting darker as it goes, this is when she first eats a guy that I thought was a friend. So, like, these little dudes that look like they have paper hats, I thought they were other orphans that were running around the place.
I call them little mushroom dudes.
Okay, so the little mushroom dudes, the little mushroom dudes, they have triangle heads, which are kind of similar to the main character. So I thought they're just other orphans that are in this place. They are in the same position as the main character.
And I thought they were friends too, because like these kind of work as collectibles as you go throughout the game, I want to say, because you can find them. They're usually hiding and stuff, and you find them. And the interesting thing is that whenever you find one of them, your objective is to essentially pick them up and hug them.
That's the one moment that I have no explanation for. He had a sausage. Like, I understand if there was no food available, like you do what you have to survive, sometimes at the cost of your friends, and that might be even something that she would struggle with further down the line, like, oh, I killed a friend, whatever. But no, she had a sausage right there, and she chose to eat the little mushroom dude. So I have no explanation for that.
Yeah, that's where my theory really comes into place, which is like she is just growing dark. She's just growing darker and darker as this game goes on. And I even started considering maybe she gets, I don't know, some kind of like powers or something from killing other people, because she killed the live mouse and then she killed this guy, you know?
Final chapter. Let's call it the geisha, because I've been calling her the geisha this whole video.
Yeah.
How did you see that fight? Like, why is the mirror something that hurts her?
I thought it was, I always thought of that. The second I saw the mirror, I instantly thought, okay, so this mirror is going to be like a Medusa type thing.
Right.
Because like you had the eyes that turned children into stone. Those were kind of like Medusa-ish. And the only way to defeat Medusa is to show her own face. And there you go.
Mm-hmm. So in my theory, we're talking about a place full of abusive adults that don't really care about the children. But, you know, I'm a firm believer that no one is pure evil in the world. So this fight just kind of represented the kid holding up a mirror and showing this person, look at your actions, look at what you're doing. And that's the only thing that could hurt her and stop her from what she was doing. Because you look at everything around that room, like she's combing her hair on a broken mirror. She's not really taking a good look at herself. And this is the moment where the kid holds up the mirror and says, look, this is you monster.
Yeah, that makes sense if you're thinking about it like a nightmare, an actual nightmare.
Right.
Makes a lot of sense. But I was just looking again, real world. And then at the end, I was like, oh, wow, now this is going to happen. Like, okay. So then I actually started thinking, so eventually the progression of this character would be that she then becomes the host of this place, because she has gone from being this innocent little child into being presented to this cruel reality of this world and this location that she's stuck in, and this kind of twisted and warped her mind to the point where she's just become the most evil thing you can possibly conceive, and she's going to eat the final villain, the actual host of this terrible place, and she then will take control of it.
We're on the same page there. I thought through the whole game you'll play through her fears, and here her desires are revealed, sort of. Like, she has been mistreated and abused left, right, and center. What she wants is just to murder everyone. She just wants to suck out their souls, just wants to see everyone who did her harm dead. So yeah, that's my theory. Your theory, I think, was also pretty damn cool. You had a second one.
Yes. My second theory became she was evil all along.
Right.
And the reason she was placed there was specifically because she was evil. This was a location that was kind of like where people would put everything that is evil. That includes child. So maybe this was just a very evil child, and they somehow picked up on the fact that she was very evil when she was born, and she needed to be in prison. Maybe all the children that were in that location were very, very evil children that would eventually, you know, grow up to be terrible adults. And the adults that are there, they are definitely evil. But the only part that becomes kind of weird with that theory is that then why does she hug the mushroom kids at the start instead of just straight up Well, maybe she wasn't hungry. I don't know.
So those are our theories, or where our mind was at when we played Little Nightmares. If you guys got some theories of your own, leave them in the comments below. I would love to read them sometime. Click that like button if you enjoyed the video, and don't forget to check out Rurikon's channel, youtube.com/Rurikon. Link is in the description below. Thank you, Rurikon.
Thank you very much for having me. Always a pleasure.
Take care, folks. Bye.